Pacific Northwoods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, state police are investigating a Sunday night incident in Guilford where one man died and a woman was seriously injured. We'll have the details coming up. Plus, the Ellsworth School District was recently awarded $2 million to help prevent student homelessness. We'll learn more about that ahead. And Maine's congressional delegation responded against the plan to allow foreign countries to build Navy ships. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop. We'll have those stories and much more coming up. And as always, we thank you for joining us. Now for the weather today, we'll have some cloudy skies with a slight chance of rain. Let's start off this morning by getting a first check of our forecast. Devin Biggs joins us now.
All righty, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes. Now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote. 207-263-3421. Alrighty, here we go. This morning we do have some rain showers that are still developing in some areas, and we will continue that throughout the daytime period under a mostly cloudy sky. Any fog that is developing out there will be clearing up. We'll hold on to the clouds, some rain showers, and you may notice some sunshine that will be peeking out from time to time. And it is just us that's still noticing some rain showers. Other parts of the Northeast still seeing a few rain showers as well, but primarily it's Maine that's seeing some of the rain showers this morning. Futurecast holding on to the clouds. The fog will go away and still some rain showers this afternoon. We'll start to see that taper off later on tonight. The wind will not be a problem today or tonight either. As we head towards tomorrow afternoon, we'll see a few gusts pushing in that could reach up to 15, close to 20 miles per hour along the coast. But your hourly forecast this morning into the afternoon will have some clouds, some showers possible, temperatures in the 70s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up.
All right, thank you, Devin. Well, state police are investigating an incident that happened in Guilford on Sunday night that left a man dead and a woman critically injured. Maine State Police say that the incident happened a little after 7 o'clock at 24 Pine Street. Spokesperson Shannon Moss says that the Piscataquis County Sheriff's Office went there for a well-being check and found 2 seriously injured adults inside a neighboring residence. An adult female and male were transported to the hospital. Moss says that the male died from his injuries while being transported. The female remains in critical condition. The body of the man who died has been taken to the medical examiner's office to officially determine the cause and manner of death.
It's scary, very terrifying. You don't want something like that to happen, and definitely makes me reconsider. We usually let our daughter go outside and just play, you know, with the door open and stuff like that. We can keep an eye on her, but certainly not going to be happening anymore. Yeah, but you think that you know what's going on in the houses around you, but you never do, apparently.
Not really.
Well, 49-year-old Ryan Carlton of Guilford has been arrested and charged with aggravated assault. He is scheduled to be arraigned today. Moss says it's likely that his charges will be elevated. Law enforcement believes that this is an isolated incident and there are no ongoing public safety concerns, but anyone with information about the case is asked to call the Maine State Police at 973-3700 extension 9 and speak with Detective Jacob Furland. Meanwhile, we are told that the female involved worked for the Guilford School District. Their superintendent said in a statement, quote, "Our school community is deeply saddened by the tragic events involving a valued member of our school staff and her family. Our thoughts and heartfelt concern are with her and all of those affected during this incredibly difficult time. We recognize that this news may be difficult for our students, staff, and families. Counselors and other support staff will be available as needed," end quote. Well, meanwhile, a Brownfield man was hospitalized on Monday after getting shot by a sheriff's deputy in Oxford County. Authorities say that they received a report that 40-year-old Eric Junkins was chasing his wife with a gun on the Porter Road. When they had arrived, they said that he pointed the gun in their direction, and that's when the deputy opened fire. Junkins was struck in his hands and then was taken to the hospital for treatment. He's now facing numerous charges, including domestic violence, reckless conduct, and criminal threatening with a dangerous weapon. The The Attorney General's office is investigating the use of deadly force. Well, moving on now, the Maine Warden Service is investigating a fatal ATV crash. It happened at approximately 7:45 on Sunday night in a field behind the Old East Road in Fort Fairfield. Spokesperson Mark Laddie says that two 15-year-olds were riding in a side-by-side ATV. Laddie says that the driver turned a hard left while accelerating, which then caused the front of the machine to lift and skid over before rolling over. He says that the 15-year-old passenger died at the scene. The driver was transported to Cary Medical Center in Caribou with non-life-threatening injuries. Laddie says neither the driver nor the passenger was wearing a helmet or using a seatbelt during the time of that crash. Well, the family of Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero continues to demand answers after testifying at a congressional field hearing at Biddeford High School on Monday. That hearing, organized by Representative Shelley Pingree, called on the family and other Maine leaders to speak out about Guerrero's death and the impact of ICE operations in the state. Max Williams was also there.
We feel a deep pain in our souls when his little daughter, our 3-year-old granddaughter, asks for her daddy and why he doesn't come home from work.
Johann Sebastian's parents wiping away tears and holding each other tight as they testified before two Democratic DHS committee members, Congresswoman Shelley Pingree and a Democratic representative from Massachusetts.
I am still so angry that a young man ended up dead on our streets and that his daughter will now grow up without a father.
Representative Pingree says today's field hearing was held to hear the impact Guerrero's death and the presence of ICE in Maine has had on the community, including local elected officials, advocates, and even the lawyer representing the Guerrero family. Governor Mills getting emotional during her testimony.
This has to end. It has to end. And if ICE cannot be reined in and fundamentally reformed, then it is time to abolish it.
The four congressional members today say they will bring all testimony back to Capitol Hill in hopes of getting transparency not only into the death of Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero, but ICE operations altogether.
Sometimes getting to the facts is hurtful, but we have to get to the facts. If our Republican colleagues will not come and face the public, then Democrats will come.
DHS committee member Benny Thompson says Republican leaders were asked to join today's hearing, but were not there.
To be honest with you, it's been crickets. We've not been able to get any oversight hearings on what's been going on around the country.
And that was Max Williams reporting. Well, the Maine AG is currently conducting their own investigation. It's unclear if there will be a federal investigation. The lawyer that's representing the Guerrero family says that so far they have not been contacted by the FBI or any other federal agency. Well, a judge denied a motion to amend bail for an Orrington man charged with killing his 12-week-old daughter. Sean Samuels was in court on Monday with his lawyers asking for his bail to be lowered so that he might get out of jail while his trial awaits. He was indicted on charges of depraved indifference, murder, and manslaughter in the death of his 12-week-old daughter, Lila, who was found unresponsive on January 16th of this year. She later died at a hospital on January 18th. While his lawyers argued that Samuels has no prior criminal convictions, a prosecutor for the state told the judge that his bail in two pending aggravated assault cases against him has already been revoked. The judge rejected the motion to amend bail in the case of his daughter's death, which was originally set at $250,000 during his initial court appearance. Well, Bangor City Council voted last night to continue its support of a new supportive housing development. A special meeting was held last night to reconsider last week's vote in favor of the Yellen Pines development. The facility is being built to provide housing and support to those who have been homeless. But some residents believe that it's too costly, and they don't like the idea of giving the facility special tax breaks. According to the Bangor Daily, a meeting was held last night to take another look at that matter, but in the end, the councilors voted not to reconsider the support for that project. Well, moving on now, Ellsworth was among several school districts to receive a statewide grant to combat the issue of student homelessness. Our Sam Miller has more on how that grant could impact students in need.
Through grants funded by Maine Housing, the Ellsworth School District and several others were recently awarded a total of $2 million in order to help prevent student homelessness. Ellsworth will receive around $320,000 of that funding, which comes from the agency's Prevent Student Homelessness program. That program aims to help struggling students gain access to housing stability services.
There's about 5 to 8% of students at one time, from very young ages, pre-K and K, all the way up to high schoolers, really on their own, couch surfing, living with friends, or sometimes, unfortunately, living in their cars.
Around 1,300 students and their families who are at risk or experiencing homelessness are expected to benefit from this grant. Ellsworth Assistant Superintendent Nikki Chan says the district is already partnering with outside organizations to address student homelessness. The new funding will expand these crucial services.
We will be able to support multiple avenues such as rental assistance, utilities, needs that people have. Sometimes people are able to afford their rent or utilities, but that means that they've chosen not to be able to, buy food or glasses or whatever it may be for their students. So all of this will help students in whatever way possible in those avenues.
Chan says the ultimate goal is to set students up for a better future.
The main point is to try to move them from crisis level to stability level, and we work hard every single day. There's a lot of this in our communities, and even with many students who you would never know from the outside, they may look successful or they may not ever tell their friends or teacher, but their family certainly can be struggling.
In Ellsworth, Sam Miller, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, meanwhile, the Lincoln Town office was closed on Monday as officials investigate what they say was a cyber attack that affected portions of the town's computer network. Early on Saturday morning, the town's information technology provider notified town leaders that some of the files on the town's network had been encrypted. The town says that steps were immediately taken to isolate the affected systems and prevent any further impact. They say the incident may have actually occurred as early as Thursday of last week. The full scope of the cyber incident is still being investigated, and the town says that certain services may experience disruption while the affected areas are gradually and safely brought back online. The town office will reopen this morning at 8:30, so very soon, with limited services available. Well, folks in Mid-Coast Maine who are experiencing hardships, food insecurity, and housing instability are now getting a helping hand through a new program at the Penn Bay YMCA. Our Jody Hersey explains.
As beautiful as it is living on the coast of Maine, it can be challenging as well, especially for people or families with limited resources.
We met with a number of providers in this area that we have relationships with and work with: Penquist, AIO, Homeworthy, and Maine Health, and we discussed the fact that there's still some folks in the community that are falling through the cracks.
So the Penn Bay YMCA teamed up with the town of Thomaston to create a Community Navigator pilot program using a community block grant. It allows employee Heather DeVita to reach out to people at the Thomaston Library, the town office, or at senior citizen luncheons to assess where in their lives they could use a helping hand.
So there's a variety of needs that folks come to us with. If they're looking for case management, that's something I can help sign them up with. If they're having some food insecurity, we can get them signed up with our local food pantries or help out with a gift card. If they're trouble with transportation, we try and help fill that need also.
The best part of the program is there are no requirements.
So we really wanted to make sure that we created this safety net that would help everyone. So you don't have to be experiencing homelessness to be eligible for this program. You don't have to be in a certain income eligibility to access this program.
7 months after this program was put in place, it's been able to help 67 individuals from 40 different families within the Thomaston community. And just like the sign on Main Street says, the town decided to be the change in the world it wishes to see in order to help residents who proudly call Thomaston home. In Thomaston, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The time now is 8:14. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, former Governor Paul LePage received a big name endorsement. We'll have that story ahead. But first, another look at our forecast. For today, mostly cloudy skies with a slight chance of showers, highs around 77. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy with some areas of dense fog, temperatures dipping down to the low 60s. And for tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, highs around 82. We'll be right back.
30 years living that Washington, D.C. lifestyle. That'll change a person. Getting rich from insider stock trading should be illegal. But Susan Collins doesn't think so. Susan Collins wants to keep it so senators can play the stock market, make millions of dollars doing that. Why we struggle to pay for gas, groceries, health insurance, the basics. For them to get all that money while we're paying more, it's not right. It's not right. Tell Susan Collins to stop this congressional stock trade.
Need a driveway paved or an entire road surfaced? Give Eaton Paving and Excavation a call. Eaton Paving offers a full line of excavation packages, from new home projects to new and replacement septics and driveways. We also install new shoreland and do shoreland repairs. Our operators have more than 75 years combined experience, and we have been delivering quality, professional service for nearly 3 decades. We strive to exceed your expectations. Give us a call today at 207-348-5630 or visit us at eatonpaving.com.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
Mainers work hard. Our leaders should too. Like Senator Susan Collins, who just cast her 10,000th vote.
The first senator in U.S. history to reach that mark without ever missing a vote.
Collins worked with Democrats to keep the Gulf of Maine open for our fishermen, kept our shipbuilders on the job with new funding, and Collins expanded health care for rural Mainers. No drama, just hard work and results. Call. Ask Senator Collins to keep working hard for Mainers.
A plan by President Trump to let foreign countries build U.S. warships is being criticized by BIW shipbuilders and Maine's congressional delegation. As Brad Rogers found, the plan also appears to be in direct conflict with the president's push to increase U.S. manufacturing.
Maine's congressional delegation responded strongly against the plan to allow foreign countries to build Navy ships. The House passed the Defense Authorization Act with an amendment by Congressman Jared Golden to prohibit federal funds from building ships overseas. He says this administration appears to be bound and determined to send American shipbuilding jobs overseas and sell American shipyards to foreign corporations. However, the Secretary of the Navy says American shipbuilding is falling behind.
There's 11 destroyers that are on contract for Bath alone, and 7 are in construction. We haven't even begun cutting metal for the other 4. We're trying to allow for the industrial base to catch up.
No, he's wrong. It needs to stay in the U.S.
BIW worker David Colamy says allowing foreign countries to build U.S. warships would undermine national security.
There's too many highly potential secrets that go on these ships. I mean, I've been here for 38 years, and there's a lot of areas that I can't even get into.
Senator Angus King agrees.
That's the worst idea since the Red Sox traded Babe Ruth to the Yankees. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to be handing over that level of technology even to our allies.
6 months ago, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth called BIW the workhorse of the naval fleet.
What you're building here in Bath is essential to the arsenal of freedom.
Senator Collins says cooperation with our allies can bring valuable investment and new technologies, but those partnerships should result in more ships being built in America by American workers.
It needs to stay here in this country, plain and simple.
Congressional amendments could prevent President Trump from allowing U.S. warships to be built overseas. We'll have to wait and see how President Trump responds.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting. Well, meanwhile, an update in the race for Maine's 2nd Congressional District. Former Governor Paul LePage received a big-name endorsement from Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who said LePage is, quote, one of the most qualified and competent people for the job. Surrounded by workers and hard hats, Speaker Johnson endorsed former Governor Paul LePage for Congress on Monday afternoon at Auburn Concrete. LePage says that small businesses like Auburn Concrete make the economy go, and he says he'll represent all of the hardworking people here in Maine. LePage says he's not a lifelong politician and came up from poverty, but worked hard to get where he is today. Paul LePage served as Maine's governor from 2011 to 2019 and says that he knows what needs to be done in Washington to help Mainers. Speaker Johnson says LePage has worked to reduce taxes, provide jobs for Mainers, and stands for the values of America.
I'm running for Congress to create jobs, to help create better jobs for Mainers, to lower taxes while operating an efficient government.
He's going to represent hardworking people like this, and he's going to continue on this path that we've done to reduce government, reduce regulations, and provide jobs and opportunity for more Americans.
Well, Matthew Dunlap is the Democrat running against Paul LePage. His campaign manager wrote in part, quote, Paul LePage will vote in lockstep with the Medicaid cuts and the tariffs that Mike Johnson keeps pushing. D.C. Republicans rolled Paul LePage out of his Florida retirement and realized that he's not up to the job. So they are sending reinforcements because they are terrified that LePage is down in the polls. LePage will face Dunlap in November for the 2nd congressional district seat. The time now is 8:21. After the break, the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy continues this week. We'll have more on that coming up. Plus, we'll learn about the Penobscot County Fire Academy hosted by Hamden Public Safety. Those stories and more straight ahead on Good Morning Maine.
Disturbing news about threats of violence against women. Is it Graham Plattner again? No, it's Troy Jackson. When a female legislator disagreed with Jackson, he threw a water bottle at her in anger. The woman was deeply frightened. Jackson was known for bullying, and his screaming felt like intentional intimidation. His brash conduct with women raised alarm bells about his temperament. Troy Jackson, another phony we can't trust. Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
there's no reason to be overwhelmed.
No.
We can help you through it.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
He put his life on the line for his country. Senator Susan Collins isn't forgetting him or any of our veterans. She's delivered millions in federal funding to improve housing for veterans across Maine and provide housing vouchers to make sure Maine veterans have a place to call home. She's also worked tirelessly to provide the quality mental health care our veterans deserve. Call and tell Senator Collins to keep fighting for our veterans.
Firefighter hopefuls from across Maine gathered in Hamden yesterday as part of a 2-week-long training process. 30 soon-to-be firefighters came together to learn and practice basic firefighting skills at the annual Penobscot County Fire Academy hosted by Hamden Public Safety. After months of book work, the academy is the final step to becoming a firefighter, says Old Town Fire Lieutenant Taylor Gaines, who was the academy's assistant director this summer. Gaines says that while the academy provides all of the basics, they focus on teaching future firefighters that the job is always about learning.
I think we do a great job as an academy getting people those basics, but as we try to drill into people, you just never stop learning once you're past this point. And there's plenty to build on once they're done.
The academy consists of classroom lectures as well as hands-on learning, allowing the cadets to use the gear that they will use in the field, while also practicing tasks that they will face during their career. According to Gaines, prospective firefighters from 14 different departments across Penobscot County and 3 from outside of the county were all invited to that academy. Those attending say that it's hard work, but it has improved their firefighting abilities, and they've also found new friends.
this couple weeks here has got me a lot more comfortable and confident with the skills and meeting people from new departments. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're split up into companies, so there's 5 people in my company, and I can already tell they're going to be friends for a long time.
Well, in other news this morning, after one of the driest Julys in Maine's history, rain has started to fall again right before autumn. A majority of Maine has been in a drought this summer, ranging from abnormally dry to severe, according to the Maine Climate Office. While the mid-coast of Maine has been hit the hardest by the drought, inner parts of the state are also still struggling. Farms like Conan Orchards and Etna dealt with the dry stretch of weather last summer and worried that it would affect their crops this year.
We worried a little bit because last year where we were in such a drought, we didn't have a great crop.
Well, with portions of the state being hit with thunderstorms and heavy rain and more predicted to come in the following weeks, dry conditions may ease going into the fall.
The rain we've been getting recently has really made everything start growing really, really big.
While the rain coming in has helped out the local businesses, the state at large is still facing drought and requires much more prolonged rainfall to recover. Well, speaking of that, now let's get a full look at our forecast with meteorologist Evan Biggs.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes. Now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote, 207-263-3421. Alrighty, here we go. Wave height's rather quiet out there this morning. We have no advisories in effect along the coast or even inland as well. Continuing to stay quiet out there with regards to that. Wave heights farther out towards sea, actually a little bit active out there this morning. 7 to even 6 feet being noted out there in a few spots. But meanwhile, again, still a few rain showers developing out there with that area low pressure continuing to move away in a few areas. So again, some showers out there, some clouds, and even some fog outside this morning. But again, we will lose the fog, but still some showers, some clouds, and you may notice some sunshine as well throughout the daytime period. Some more energy well off towards parts of the Midwest. But futurecast for us, we do have the clouds and yes, the fog this morning, but primarily clouds and rain showers throughout the daytime period today. Notice we lose a lot of the clouds this afternoon. So showers, some clouds, and of course some sunshine mixing in throughout the daytime period today. Tonight we'll start to lose the showers and primarily clouds and fog coming up later on tonight. And then for your Wednesday, still some clouds, but we will be dry moving forward. And try to get a few sprinkles in here for your Wednesday, but I think overall we will be okay and staying dry as we do push forward. The wind, again, not a big problem moving forward today or tonight, but Wednesday, again, some gusty winds along the coast reaching up close to 15 to 20 miles per hour. So showers expected today, otherwise mostly cloudy. Highs in the upper 70s and a northeast wind getting up to about 5 miles per hour. So partly cloudy tonight, areas of dense fog, low 60s for the overnight low, and the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, partly cloudy, not bad at all, low 80s for the high, and a southwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast for your Thursday. Showers and thunderstorms possible with highs in the low 80s. And then we're dry again for your Friday, mostly sunny with highs still in the low 80s. Saturday, dry again, partly cloudy, highs again in the low 80s.
What is Spectrum Internet? It's secure internet for you and your family.
It's keeping kids like us safe online.
It's everything you want it to be. Switch today at spectrum.com.
Way up north in Maine, down a road less traveled, lies Golden Road Crossing. We have everything you need to gear up for epic hikes, days spent fishing, and nights under the star-filled skies. Join us at Golden Road Yacht Club for cold drinks and Maine-grown comfort food. Gather round to make new friends, share stories, and create memories to last a lifetime. Come visit us at Golden Road Crossing, your hub on Maine's legendary Golden Road.
You don't get to buy the government that you want.
But let's look at what Troy Jackson did. Because Troy Jackson likes to
keep it in the family. When Jackson was state Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Was it a coincidence, or was something corrupt? Troy Jackson is just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
There's never been a race like this. One weekend, one city.
The Freedom 250 Grand Prix. 7 turns, 1.7 miles. Look at this crowd. Fans have turned out in a huge way. He has momentum now, past the Capitol. This is history in the making.
At Spectrum, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between speed, reliability, and value. That's why Spectrum fiber-powered internet gives you all three for just $40 a month. Call now or go online.
President Trump is once again threatening to expand the war in Iran to involve another country, saying that he will bomb U.S. ally Oman if it interferes in the Strait of Hormuz. ABC's Karen Waugh is in Washington with the details.
This morning, President Trump cursing out another American ally, saying he would bomb the expletive out of Oman if the country got in the way of U.S. plans to control the Strait of Hormuz.
I don't think they behaved very well, but we'd handle them very easily, just like we do others.
Oman had been helping to broker a deal on the strait, just as the 60-day truce with Iran officially ended on Monday, with no nuclear deal or peace talks scheduled. His threat to Oman also comes a day after he iced out another ally, Trump cutting back joint military exercises with South Korea, calling the drills, quote, totally inappropriate and hostile to an unthreatening and respectful North Korea. The president suggesting he's spoken with Kim Jong-un recently.
Kim Jong-un has always treated me with great respect.
Many Democrats are furious with the president's priorities. As Georgia Senator John Ossoff claims, Trump is too focused on the White House ballroom and traveling with aide Natalie Harp.
We're in wartime, and he retreats into this bubble of West Wing aides who are his security blanket to make him feel good about himself, to reassure him that he's doing a great job, to help him while he designs his new ballroom.
In response, President Trump doubled down, saying he's in no rush to end the war, while downplaying its impact on the economy.
We're fixing a White House that hasn't been taken care of. You can look at this. This room was a disgraceful situation.
It seems like the president and vice president are not on the same page. Trump says getting rid of Iran's nuclear weapons is the top priority of the war, while Vance says the main goal is to keep oil and gas prices low. Karen Hua, ABC News, Washington.
Well, meanwhile, the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy continues, her mother taking the stand, testifying about how her daughter had struggled for months. Clancy is accused of killing her 3 young children in Massachusetts. The trial is now igniting national conversations about mental health and postpartum depression. Clancy has admitted to strangling her 3 young children in January of 2023, but is invoking an insanity defense, saying a combination of psychiatric drugs given after her 3rd child made her postpartum psychosis much worse. Prosecutors resting their case after calling more than 70 witnesses to the stand, some of the testimony bringing Clancy to tears. The defense, Clancy's attorney Kevin Reddington, started calling witnesses yesterday. Well, prosecutors say Pennsylvania's largest university was the home of an alleged cocaine trafficking ring. Here's ABC's Lionel Moyes.
This morning, 14 people, including 13 current and former students, are charged in an alleged cocaine trafficking ring at Penn State. Officials say between 2023 and 2024, 2 of the suspects made regular trips to New York and Philadelphia to buy as much as 1 kilogram of the drug at a time. They say the cocaine was then allegedly packaged to sell to students at 2 fraternity houses.
The packaging was done by fraternity brothers and oftentimes pledges. In fact, we found a pattern of events that showed cutting and bagging cocaine was, for some pledges, an indoctrination into the Delta Upsilon and Sigma Chi fraternities.
The drugs were allegedly then sold to other students with payments in cash or using apps. Officials say one of the suspects was known as the largest dealer of coke for Penn State students. The only non-student charge is one suspect's father, accused of hiding drugs and cash in a safe and obstructing the investigation.
The actual drug dealing was largely from friend to friend, fraternity brother to fraternity brother, acquaintance to acquaintance, and at fraternity houses and or during parties or social engagements.
Penn State reacting to the charges, saying, "We are horrified by these serious allegations," adding, "Criminal activity, including hazing such as this, has no place at our institution." The university says it placed Delta Upsilon on interim suspension and said Sigma Chi is not recognized at the university. In separate statements, both fraternities say the members involved were expelled or suspended from their orgs. Authorities say the alleged drug activity happened at houses off campus. At least 4 of the people charged are current students. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
Well, coming up on the second half of the newscast, 2 Waldo County organizations teamed up to give kids back to school essentials. This and more as Good Morning Maine continues.
Make your outdoor living space dreams come true with a little help from Granville Stone and Hearth. Granville can help you go from this to this. Outdoor fireplaces, custom outdoor kitchens, gorgeous stone patios, and more. You bring the dreams, we'll supply the materials to make it all real. Create your stunning outdoor oasis with help from the experts at Granville Stone and Hearth, Main Road, Holden.
You don't get to buy the government that you want.
But let's look at what Troy Jackson did. Because Troy Jackson likes to keep it in the family. When Jackson was state Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Was it a coincidence, or was something corrupt? Troy Jackson is just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026, and this is also National Couples Day. This special day is dedicated to honoring the unique connection between partners. It's a chance to pause, appreciate, and rekindle the romance with your significant other. You can maybe plan a memorable date, exchange heartfelt gifts, or simply enjoy some quality time together to strengthen your bond. Might be a nice day to surprise someone as well. Well, on this day in history, in 1590, a mystery was discovered when the governor of the Roanoke colony returned home after spending nearly 3 years abroad. He discovered that the settlement in present-day North Carolina had been completely deserted. There was no trace of the 100 or so colonists that he had left behind, and there were no signals of violence either. The fate of the lost colony remains a big mystery to this day. In 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified, giving women the right to vote. And in 1949, Adi Dassler found the Adidas Shoe Company after a falling out with his brother. His brother then went on to found the Puma Shoe Company, and the two continued to compete bitterly with each other. Definitely not a friendly competition there. Well, moving on now, in 1992, Boston Celtics superstar Larry Bird retired at the age of 35, certainly one of the greats. And in 2005, a judge in Kansas sentenced BTK killer Dennis Rader to 10 consecutive life sentences. He's a serial killer who killed at least 10 people in the Wichita, Kansas area between 1974 and 1991. He was captured after he sent a computer disk to a TV station, and then it was all traced back to him. And lastly, in 2018, the world's oldest solid cheese was discovered in an Egyptian tomb near Cairo. It dates back 3,200 years. But definitely very old cheese. Well, now for some birthdays. Today's birthdays include actor and comedian Andy Samberg, who is turning 48 years old today. News anchor Bob Woodruff is 65 years old, and actress Madeline Pesh is 32 years old today. Happy birthday to them, and happy birthday to you as well if your birthday is today. Now we'll turn things right back over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes. Now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote. 207-263-3421. Alrighty, here we go. This morning we do have some rain showers that are still developing in some areas, and we will continue that throughout the daytime period under a mostly cloudy sky. Any fog that is developing out there will be clearing up. We'll hold on to the clouds, some rain showers, and you may notice some sunshine that will be peeking out from time to time. And it is just us that's still noticing some rain showers. Other parts of the Northeast still seeing a few rain showers as well, but primarily it's Maine that's seeing some of the rain showers this morning. Futurecast holding on to the clouds. The fog will go away and still some rain showers this afternoon. We'll start to see that taper off later on tonight. The wind will not be a problem today or tonight either. As we head towards tomorrow afternoon, we'll see a few gusts pushing in that could reach up to 15, close to 20 miles per hour along the coast. But your hourly forecast this morning into the afternoon will have some clouds, some showers possible, temperatures in the 70s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up.
All right, thank you, Devin. Well, still to come here this morning, Jack Webb with sports. Don't go away.
Here are the facts about Susan Collins and Medicaid. Susan Collins was the deciding vote to advance Donald Trump's Medicaid cuts.
Susan Collins was the deciding vote to advance the bill.
Now, thousands more Mainers are expected to lose their Medicaid coverage. Hospitals and clinics are shutting down, all to give massive tax breaks for billionaires. Look up the facts yourself and tell Susan Collins to stop voting for Trump's healthcare cuts.
Hank's Husqvarna is your trusted full-line Husqvarna dealer, offering you everything you need for your outdoor projects. From high-performance lawn tractors and zero-turn mowers to chainsaws, trimmers, battery-powered and powerful snowblowers, we have just what you need. Every piece of equipment is fully set up, serviced, and ready for use by our certified Husqvarna technician. And all sales are backed by our in-house Husqvarna warranty. For parts, service, or new equipment sales, make your way to Hank's Husqvarna in Carmel or Newport.
Your internet experience feels different, ultra reliable, lightning fast. With Fidium 100% fiber, everything you do online works exactly like it should.
Night, bud. Zach, go to bed.
So is cable internet still slowing you down? Enough already. Fiber up to Fidium.
Get a 2-gig plan for only $70 a month, plus 1 month free.
I went to work in the woods after high school. The harder we worked, the more that the companies took from us. That's why we organized. We made them listen. People are doing everything they can right and still cannot get ahead. Susan Collins keeps telling us everything is just fine. Who has she served? She has served Donald Trump. She has served the billionaires. She has served herself. We are getting screwed, and I'm running to change that.
Government that works PAC's responsible for the content of this ad.
DeChambeau, Rom, and the stars of Live tee it up in Indianapolis. Live Golf, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. After months of competition, Maine football is named a starting quarterback. Redshirt sophomore Eddie Bueller will start game 1 for the Black Bears. He beat out redshirt junior Caden Drezick and redshirt freshman Mike McMaw to earn the starting role. A competition that started immediately after last season. His 2-year starter Carter Peavy ran out of eligibility. The 6'3", 223-pound gunslinger has yet to appear in a game for the Black Bears. We'll hear more from Maine and have more on this story on Tuesday evening. Well, happy first day of fall sports. Yes, it's already here. Enjoy these last few weeks of summer break, because I'll be seeing you at chilly Tuesday night soccer and field hockey games soon enough. Speaking of soccer, let's go check in with the 2025 Class A state champ Bangor girls soccer team. The Rams are riding high after that gold ball win, but there are a lot of shoes to be filled in 2026. The Rams lost 12 seniors to graduation, including a number of key starters but that will all figure itself out. On day one, the Rams are just happy to be back on the pitch.
It's been really exciting. Obviously, we had conditioning this morning, which isn't as exciting, but we have a lot of momentum coming off of the state championship win, and we're just really excited to get back out here. And we do have a lot of new incomers, one from another school who's going to be senior. We have some good freshmen coming in, and we look really good, and I just feel really good about it.
The Rams also have a new head coach. Nicholas Christensen will take over for Jay Kimball, the two-time state championship winning head coach who stepped down this summer. Christensen spent the past 5 seasons as an assistant at Husson and is excited about this new opportunity.
Yeah, it's a very good program, and we're going to look to compete. But like you said, we lost a lot of talent, and we're just going to see what we can do this year. Definitely looking to bring my knowledge of the game and my love for the game, and spread that. The ultimate goal as a coach is to make players enjoy the game and love it as much as they can.
Honestly, it's great. He's coached young female athletes before, and so we can really just connect with him. And he's just honestly a great coach, and he just wants the best for us and is pushing us, so it's great.
Good luck to the Rams this season. The Flagg brothers held their 3rd annual basketball pro camp at the University of Maine over the weekend, and we got to hear from the brothers for the first time since their cameo on Celebrity Family Feud. While campers were playing games, we got to ask the Flaggs about the time they annihilated Team Barstool back in July on Celebrity Family Feud, and I mean annihilated. They beat Dave Portnoy and his team by a whopping 543 points to nothing. And that's not all. When it came to fast money, Ace was ready. He put up 151 points himself before Coop came in to finish the job.
It was super fun. I had a great time there. The game show itself was really fun. I wasn't impressed with myself, my answers. I thought they were mediocre. Fast money I did crush, so that was awesome. But
and you guys gave the money. It was great. It was a great experience, a really fun time, and I think obviously winning how we did made it more fun. But the whole experience was really cool.
The Flagg family earned $25,000 for the Ronald McDonald House of Charities, which is an organization near and dear to their hearts.
Yeah, it means a lot to our family. I think, obviously, me and Ace weren't exactly alive when my parents were staying in that with our brother when they had their whole situation going on. But it meant a lot to them and to us in turn, and how they supported our family and got us through a really hard time. So just giving back to them is meaning a lot to us.
The 24th annual Jimmy Fund Telethon is today into tomorrow. Maine's own Tom Caron sat down with former Black Bear and current Bruin Jeremy Swayman to discuss.
We've talked a lot about this over the years, like, you're from about as far away as you can be from and still be in America, from Alaska, but your University of Maine time, you started to figure out New England pretty quickly, and then you become part of the Boston Bruins. You know what these fans are all about, and you know that if there's something that's important to the teams, the fans jump in and support, and that's what the Jimmy Fund's all about.
Exactly, and I don't miss a year. It's one of the events I circle on the calendar because it is such a great impact, and it impacts so many families, and it's easy to get up for this one. So it's awesome to be here again, and hopefully raising some great funds for a great cause.
Always a great fundraising event. You can donate at jimmyfund.org. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Ready, set, summer with the Honda Summer Event from the most fuel-efficient full-line automaker in America. Visit your local Honda dealer today.
You know what today is? It's Tuesday. Just reminding you that whatever day of the week you get hurt, we're your go-to lawyers. If you've been hurt, call us right now.
Hurt in an accident, what do you do? Call 222-2222.
First, it was Graham Plattner's problems with women.
And now, Troy Jackson.
According to a police report, Troy Jackson kicked down a door, punched a man in the face, and pushed his ex-girlfriend. As state Senate president, there are multiple reports of Jackson yelling and screaming at women. Jackson even threw a water bottle at one woman.
Make no mistake, this is an attempt to intimidate and control women.
Maine deserves better than Troy Jackson.
Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
It's a mountain of fun. Plus, the Mallet Brothers at the county's Fall Festival to End Hunger, Saturday, October 3rd. This year's family fun, the scenic chairlift, an ATV ride-in, food trucks, beer garden, bonfire, golf scramble, and the Mallet Brothers. The county's Fall Festival to End Hunger, Big Rock, Mars Hill, Saturday, October 3rd. All for Maine's Ending Hunger campaign from the County Federal Credit Union. More at countyfallfestival.org.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
25 words or less.
Wed,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
You just won it!
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
Ready, set, summer with the Honda Summer Event from the 2026 Kelley Blue Book Best Value brand. Hurry into your local Honda dealer while the offers last.
With students gearing up to head back to school, 2 organizations in Waldo County have teamed up to launch a new tradition to help ease some of the burdens of back-to-school shopping. Sunday, the Waldo County YMCA and Waldo County Community Action Partners held the inaugural Schoolapalooza. The free community event is designed to help Waldo County students head back to the classroom with all of the tools that they need to succeed. It was centered around the theme Kindness Rocks, and children receive free backpacks, school supplies, and even free haircuts as well.
Really, my goal is to provide kids with the best opportunities that they can to succeed in school. And that seems like giving them supplies and support and encouragement and inspiration. So hopefully this will do that.
Waldo Cap gives away backpacks annually for qualifying income levels as part of a federally awarded grant, but organizers say that they wanted to host something with no income restrictions to make it more accessible for these families. That event benefited more than 100 students. It also featured a BMX freestyle stunt show, ice cream, and a free hot dog lunch served up by the Belfast VFW. Sounds like a great time. Well, meanwhile, Mainers are seeing a little break when they pull up to the pump. Gas prices fell more than 5 cents a gallon last week. According to Gas Buddy's survey of more than 1,200 stations around the state, the average price is now $3.99 a gallon. That is 1.2 cents a gallon lower than a month ago and almost 93 cents higher than a year ago. Gas Buddy's head of petroleum analysis, Patrick DeHaan, says, quote, while the seasonal transition to cheaper winter blend gasoline in the coming month could bring some relief, the 2 dominant challenges facing motorists, the closed strait and the ongoing refinery strikes, show no signs of resolving anytime soon. Until they do, the path for gas and diesel prices remains tilted to the upside, end quote. Well, now here's meteorologist Devin Biggs with our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes. Now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote, 207-263-3421. Alrighty, here we go. Wave heights rather quiet out there this morning. We have no advisories in effect along the coast or even inland as well. Continuing to stay quiet out there with regards to that. Wave heights farther out towards sea, actually a little bit active out there this morning. 7 to even 6 feet being noted out there in a few spots. But meanwhile, again, still a few rain showers developing out there with that area low pressure continuing to move away in a few areas. So again, some showers out there, some clouds, and even some fog outside this morning. But again, we will lose the fog, but still some showers, some clouds, and you may notice some sunshine as well throughout the daytime period. Some more energy well off towards parts of the Midwest. But futurecast for us, we do have the clouds and yes, the fog this morning, but primarily clouds and rain showers throughout the daytime period today. Notice we lose a lot of the clouds this afternoon. So showers, some clouds, and of course some sunshine mixing in throughout the daytime period today. Tonight we'll start to lose the showers and primarily clouds and fog fog coming up later on tonight. And then for your Wednesday, still some clouds, but we will be dry moving forward. And try to get a few sprinkles in here for your Wednesday, but I think overall we will be okay and staying dry as we do push forward. The wind, again, not a big problem moving forward today or tonight, but Wednesday, again, some gusty winds along the coast reaching up close to 15 to 20 miles per hour. So showers expected today, otherwise mostly cloudy. Highs in the upper 70s and a northeast wind getting up to about 5 miles per hour. So partly cloudy tonight, areas of dense fog, low 60s for the overnight low, and the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, partly cloudy, not bad at all, low 80s for the high, and a southwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast for your Thursday. Showers and thunderstorms possible with highs in the low 80s. And then we're dry again for your Friday, mostly sunny with highs still in the low 80s. Saturday, dry again, partly cloudy, highs again in the low 80s.
Honey, where's the countertop?
I sent it out to the granite shop this morning to be replaced.
Wow!
The quickest turnaround in the business, the Granite Shop in Sedgwick.
Imagine stepping onto your brand new deck, enjoying all the benefits of your expanded outdoor living space. Hammond Lumber Company can help turn that vision into reality. Visit any of Hammond's expansive showrooms and explore a world of possibilities. The timeless beauty of wood, the resilience of composite or affordable durable PVC. Railing options from traditional wood to sleek aluminum and contemporary cable railing. On-site consultation and delivery are available. Get started on your new deck when you bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
Here are the facts about Susan Collins and Medicaid. Susan Collins was the deciding vote to advance Donald Trump's Medicaid cuts.
Susan Collins was the deciding vote to advance the bill.
Now, thousands more Mainers are expected to lose their Medicaid coverage. Hospitals and clinics are shutting down, all to give massive tax breaks for billionaires. Look up the facts yourself and tell Susan Collins to stop voting for Trump's healthcare cuts.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals. By the way,
I have no idea.
Congratulations, you have built the perfect line. I'm Deborah Norville, and this is the perfect line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after. This is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
An animal welfare organization is coordinating one of the largest big cat relocation efforts. 4 Paws has begun relocating 30 big cats from Argentina. For months, workers with 4 Paws have been making preparations for that relocation. 8 tigers and 7 lions will be transferred to the Wild Animal Sanctuary in Colorado. The remaining 9 tigers and 6 lions will be brought to the Lions Rock Big Cat Sanctuary in South Africa. The animals will be heading to their new homes on passenger and cargo flights.
There's a very long transport ahead of them. I mean, 3 different continents that we are working on now. And these animals will have a very better future. So for now, of course, transport is stressful. And it is not always the nicest thing for the animals, but a very bright future is ahead. And for these 30 animals, at least, we can provide them with the best possible.
Well, 27 big cats that were unable to be transported overseas will remain at the former zoo, just temporarily though. And another animal story for you, but this one is a little bit more scary. In Anchorage, Alaska, a woman was taken to the hospital after a brown bear attack on the Wolverine Bull Trail. According to Fish and Game, that encounter happened on Thursday near the Prospect Heights trailhead. The victim, an adult woman, was running and jogging on the trail alone when she came face to face with a brown bear. Thankfully, she was prepared and was carrying some bear spray. She used it and managed to get to safety, although she did have some injuries. Thankfully, she is all right. Well, that's all the time that we have left for this morning, but as always, we thank you for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.
Today, on 25 Words or Less, his performance on HBO's Hacks had viewers wishing it was on a network that still showed commercials. It's Dan Bukatinsky. And joining Dan are engaged couple Joshua and Andrea. She's appeared on CNN, MSNBC, and